Hello everyone and welcome back to Chapter 5 Language. Previously we've been discussing the interpersonal process, how we perceive ourselves and how we perceive others. Now we're going to be jumping into the communication aspects, predominantly language. There's two types of communication. There's verbal communication and there is nonverbal communication regarding messages sent out. So, we are going to be discussing that, and language is a big part that we send out, but also can affect how we perceive as well. So, let's talk about it. Nature has four big components. First, it is symbolic, it is rule governed, it is subjective, and it affects our worldview. So, language is the system of codes, the symbol system that we use to create meaning. So, obviously, that is where we start, that it is symbolic. The words in and of themselves are arbitrary symbols that have no meaning in and of themselves. So, what is the word rose? What does it mean? It means this flower. Even though it's just vibrations hitting air, we have put the symbol on top of that word, that's the sound that you hear, that is a rose. That being said, there is an extent to which the message is symbolic, because while rose could just mean rose, she was as lovely as a rose implies something else. But roses in and of themselves are symbolic. They mean something. They can mean love. They can mean romance. They can mean passion. Same thing with doves. They could mean the bird, or it could mean freedom, or equality, or even Christmas, or John Woo. And there are many other language symbols that have other meanings associated. Next, it is rule governed, meaning that there are phonological rules and syntactic rules and semantic rules. Phonological rules show how we say words. So if someone says one bear please, then it's obvious that they mean a bear when they maybe mean something else. Also, there's syntactic rules. The rules govern the way symbols can be arranged. For example, something like let's eat grandma or let's eat grandma, while they stayed in the same order, they also have slightly different meanings simply due to the fact that there was a pause in the middle. And then we have semantic rules. Those help us understand the meaning of individual words. So, for example, the word literally. Semantically, we know what that means. Literally means that it is actually happening versus metaphorically. So, obviously, so there's many rules that govern language, and there is one more rule, and that is pragmatic rules. They tell us what uses and interpretations of messages are appropriate given a context. So, for example, if someone says, "Oh my gosh, that was so funny, I literally peed my pants," what is the semantic rule is that they actually physically peed their pants. Uh, and did I say metaphorically? I meant figuratively. that so there's also a pragmatic rule associated with that, that they don't actually mean that. That they instead, that due to the context and due to the relationship, I can understand that they mean figuratively. There's lots of pragmatic rules that we do. For example, when someone says, "Hey, lend me a hand," we don't think, "Okay, I should take off my hand and give it to you." No, we understand intuitively that that's not the case because of the pragmatic rules. So It's rule governed, but we engage in the coordinated management of meaning, which suggests that pragmatic rules are used to create and interpret messages throughout. We try to coordinate our meanings with others so that we are able to communicate with each other. Language is also subjective. So the triangle of meaning shows that there is a indirect relationship between the word, the symbol, and what it represents, or the referent. So, as you can see, the user has a certain meaning for the word and a certain meaning for the thing that it is trying to represent. But there is an indirect correlation between those two because there can be multiple meanings for a certain word. So meanings are in people, not in words, and that we create the meaning for these words. For example, what is a feminist? If you asked a certain group of people, it would be you would see it as people who believe that men and women should be treated equally in the eyes of the law and in society. In another group of people, maybe if you find them in those random dark Facebook chats or whatever, blogs or 4chan or whatever, then they may have a completely different meaning associated. That the word is the same, feminist, but it's that women, oh, I think it's just women who want to like dominate and control men. So in general, there is a that meanings are in people, not in the words, and that words are arbitrary and culturally bound, and our culture affects those meanings. And then lastly, it affects our worldview. Linguistic relativism shows that culture is shaped and reflected by the language its members speak. So, for example, what are some of the words we use? Um, a great example of this is the Sapir-Whorf was shown well is Eskimos. That Eskimos have over 100 words for ice and snow, so obviously it is it's it's that they are able to not that their culture is very much shaped by ice and snow, which is reflected by the language that they have so many words for ice and snow, but also it even shows that they even see ice and snow differently from us. So the reality that we experience is shaped by the language that we use. And this leads to such interesting impacts on us, like that we are able to actually see the world differently. A good example of this is how many fingers am I holding up? This is very easy for us to do because we assign a number to each of these different fingers, and therefore we get to 8. First of all, we would not be able to understand this if we didn't have those numbers or the words for numbers. And this is actually shown. There was an indigenous tribe that only had numbers counting up to, I believe, 5. And as a result, after 5, they ended up not being able to remember the number of things as well. And as a result, it became very, very challenging to do that. So the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, so language very much shapes our worldview. Next, in the next section, we're going to be talking about the impacts of language, focusing on naming and identity, affiliation, power and politeness, sexism and racism, precision and vagueness, and the language of responsibility. And then we're going to be talking about some online language. Bye.